Hey guys, this is the Movie Hour. I'm your host Danny, and alongside me, my co-host and sister Vanessa.
Hi.
The Movie Hour is your friendly neighborhood podcast where we talk about and make fun of all our favorite films, from the good, the bad, and the downright ridiculous. In this episode, we'll be talking about the 1991 horror comedy film, The People Under the Stairs. So get your tickets, grab your popcorn, sit back, make yourselves comfortable, and enjoy this episode of the Movie Hour. The People Under the Stairs is a 1991 horror comedy film. It's directed by the legendary horror icon Wes Craven, who, if you didn't know, directed many great films, including The Last House on the Left, the original Hills Have Eyes, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and the first 4 Scream movies, just to name a few. So he's horror royalty.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love Scream.
Scream, yeah, the first one's good.
Yeah, those are really good.
Yeah.
They're just iconic. So I like him.
You know, Scream is a thing that, like, a franchise that I don't hate.
Yes.
I don't like love.
Right.
I like the first one.
Yeah, the first one is good.
The first one's good, and then I like these new ones, the ones with Jenna Ortega.
Me too. I was just about to say that.
Those are good, like, kind of reboots. I don't know, whatever you would call them, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, those are good. And then I like the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, that's good.
It kind of gets a little ridiculous, just like any long-running series.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just like it happens. It's like a symptom of going on too long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because have you ever seen any of the other ones?
Oh no, not like the super like newer ones.
No. Yeah, like Nightmare on Elm Street is good. Then the second one's kind of Third one is pretty good, and then after that, it just gets like ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, kind of like you said, it just runs on too long.
Right.
So the film's cast includes Brandon Adams as Poindexter Fool Williams, who, for all 90s kids, he's like legendary. He's in The Sandlot and The Mighty Ducks.
Yep.
Yeah. Everett McGill as Mr. Robison, Wendy Roble as Mrs. Robison, AJ Langer as Alice, Ving Rhames as Leroy, and Sean Whalen as Roach, just to name a few. It has a runtime of 102 minutes, so an hour and 42, so under the 2-hour mark, and can be watched on Peacock or AMC Plus as of the time of this recording. This is our first film in our month-long spooky season podcast.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we got some good ones coming up, some heavy hitters.
Oh, so exciting. This is the best time of the year, in my opinion.
Heck yeah, the weather's cooling down, the leaves are turning orange, and it's good.
It's good. Overall, good.
Really good. You know, the only thing I don't like about spooky season is the pumpkin spice. I don't like that.
You know what? I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but it's not like people like line up for like the Starbucks like pumpkin spice latte, and I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I want to, wake up any earlier for it, but it's fine.
I'm like, it belongs in the trash for me. My opinion.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so this was recommended to us by one of our followers on YouTube.
Woohoo.
Also, if you don't know, we have a YouTube channel. Obviously, if you're watching this, it's at The Movie Hour Podcast, sorry. And so thank you to Addiction817 for the recommendation.
Shout out.
And we hope you like this review.
All right.
So as we dive in, be warned there are spoilers ahead. So without further ado, let's begin. The film begins with Poindexter Fool Williams, who I'll just be calling Fool.
Right. It is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. Poindexter.
Yeah.
He's reading a book. He's also a resident of a Los Angeles ghetto. And he learns that his family is being evicted from the apartment by their landlords, the Robisons, for being 3 days late on rent. And this is the crazy part. These guys raised their rent for being late 3 times.
Ugh, strict.
What's going on? I thought there was rent control.
Yeah. What's going on here? This is illegal.
Fool, he talks to Leroy, who's they kind of introduce him as his older sister's friend.
Yeah,
Ruby,
right.
But he just seems a lot older than her.
Yeah, he's like an old man.
Yeah.
Well,
he's like at 30.
Yeah.
And the sister's supposed to be a teenager.
Yeah. Weird.
But yeah, he's the friend of Ruby, and he tells Fool of a plan to rob the Robisons, believing that their house has gold. And, in my head, I'm like, why is this grown-ass man asking Fool, this little kid, who's probably like 10, 11 years old, of like stealing it,
Yeah.
like robbing a place.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but funny.
It is funny. And then I'm thinking, well, why doesn't he just like steal it himself and then just give it to Fool and his family?
No.
No, well, that would ruin the movie.
You're right. There would be no plot.
That's it right there. Fool, however, is willing to go through this, not because he wants to, but because he learns that his mother has cancer, and he wants to do anything by his family. So he's a good kid. Yeah. He wants to be a doctor. So he has, plans in the future.
Aspirations,
exactly. The Robesons are this married couple, and right from the beginning, they give you these evil vibes.
Oh, yeah.
And they even call themselves mommy and daddy.
Ugh, creepy.
I'm not going to be calling them that, so just so you guys know. And they buy poorly maintained apartment buildings, and they purposely raise the rent, trying to evict the occupants so they can later sell them to gentrifiers, basically.
Evil.
And they also have this supposedly daughter, and I'm doing this with air quotes, daughter. Her name's Alice, who they abuse severely. I guess you could say physically as well, but more mentally,
right,
emotionally. But she's also shown to be very kind, and she shares her food with the people in the walls, which is pretty creepy because the Robesons, they're aware of this.
Right.
Right? The mother, she gives her a plate with the fork, and when she comes to pick it up, she's like, "Where's the fork?" And she's looking for it, and this like pale hand basically gives Alice the fork.
Right.
Yeah. So I haven't seen this in so long, so I thought it was like a demon for a second.
Right.
I thought,
wait a minute.
So Leroy and his associate, whose name is Spencer, and Fool, they scope out the house so they can later break into it. Fool dresses up as a Boy Scout and tries to get into the home to get a better, feel for things.
Right.
Right? And he goes under the assumption that he needs to use the bathroom, but he's denied. Spencer, the associate, later poses as a city gas worker and is allowed access into the home. And granted, this whole time the landlords are very paranoid.
Right.
They're like super on edge.
Yeah.
And just very paranoid. So shortly after Spencer goes inside, the Robesons leave the home. But Spencer does not return. So Fool and Leroy, they break into the house to look for Spencer. The house is super secure and it has the state-of-the-art anti-theft measures. Like the whole house is like,
right,
decked out.
Yeah.
They got electric doorknobs and just basically anything you can think of.
Right.
And then the Robesons' Rottweiler, whose name is Prince, attacks Leroy and Fool, and they're able to get into another room and close the door on Prince. While this is all happening, they hear thumping coming from upstairs. So they split up. Obviously, your classic horror movie trope.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously. Your Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
You guys go this way, we'll go this way.
That's such a good point. Yeah, definitely. Very Scooby-Doo-ish.
I know. I'm just like, come on, guys. Did we not ever learn anything?
No. Unfortunately, no.
No. Well, Fool, he finds Spencer's dead body along with a large group of strange pale children that are locked inside a pen, almost like a dungeon-like basement.
Yeah.
Spencer, while being dead, is also shown to have a gold coin in his hand, confirming to Fool that Leroy was correct and the Robesons do have gold in their house.
Ooh.
The Robesons return home, noticing Leroy's truck parked outside. I mean, come on, dude. You parked like right in front of their home. At least park like down the street or something.
Come on, people.
Amateur hour.
I know. Yeah, amateur hour. Definitely.
Come on, guys. Fool sees this and he goes looking for Leroy. To get out of the house, he finds Leroy upstairs and he's like laying down and presumably dead.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's not, and he's just scared, and he tells Fool that he hears the people in the walls. And kind of like this scene or where this happened, I kind of, this movie's kind of marketed as a horror comedy.
Yeah.
And up until this point, I'm like, where's the comedy at? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. The Robesons are a little exaggerated, but it's like there's no comedy. But right there is kind of where it starts getting a little bit more funny.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's like, oh, and it's like Ving Rhames is like this big scary guy. He's like, oh, there's some people in the walls, and you know,
Right.
I don't know. It's just funny.
No, it is funny.
So yeah, he says that he hears people in the walls, and while trying to flee, Prince, which is the Rottweiler, attacks Leroy and Fool. And Mr. Robeson is coming in, guns blazing, and begins shooting. He shoots first and asks questions later.
Yeah, that's
Basically.
a great way of putting it.
So Leroy is shot to death, and Fool is able to run into another section of the house where he meets Alice, the Robeson's presumed daughter. She tells him that the people under the stairs were children who broke the see, hear, speak no evil rule.
Yep.
Which they keep kind of mentioning throughout the film, right?
Yeah, it's like a constant theme, I guess. A
Yeah.
reoccurring, theme.
I didn't get that. Was it supposed to be kind of like religious affiliation, or?
I could see that. I don't know. It is kind of interesting. I could definitely see that being like a religious,
like backtone.
Yeah, a religious tone. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah,
for sure.
but I don't know. They're not really they're not presented as religious.
Right. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I never understood that.
Maybe like just the mantra
Maybe
that they just go by. I don't know, but I could see where you're coming from.
That's
like
good.
Being a religious tone.
Mantra. I like that word.
All right. Word of the episode today.
Word of the episode. So yeah, these were the children who broke the see, hear, and speak no evil rules. In the Robeson's household, the children have degenerated into cannibalism to survive, and Alice has avoided this fate by obeying the rules without question. We also get introduced to a boy named Roach, whose tongue was removed as punishment for calling out for help to escape. He's also evading the Robesons by hiding in the walls and helping Fool.
Right.
Yeah. Mr. Robeson, and this is where I was like, okay, now I can kind of see like the comedy part, because now he's decked out in a full-on gimp suit.
Yeah.
Which I was like, what the heck?
It's kind of jarring when you see it.
Yeah, it's just like, well, why?
What are you doing? No. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so he's hunting Roach. All the while, he's shooting inside the house.
Yeah.
And the police arrive, and they start asking about Leroy's van, as it's been associated with a liquor store heist a few days prior. Like I said, amateur.
Very amateur.
Very amateur.
Park it down the street. Come on. At the park. Do something.
At least, And however, the Robersons, I don't know how he was able to take off that gimp suit so fast, but he's able to take it out. And him and the wife, they go down and they start talking to him and start playing slick and everything, saying, oh, we don't know, and all this other stuff. And they're able to get rid of the police without much questions. And this sounds about right for the LAPD.
Yes, yeah. I love that you brought that up, because I feel like this movie, and we'll touch on this a little later, but I feel like this movie, even though it is like a horror comedy, I feel like it does a good job at kind of poking fun at the reality of things in LA. Like you said, like the LAPD being incompetent.
Yeah.
Where have we seen that before?
Right.
It's in the history, right?
Right.
Gentrification. Yeah. That's a very common thing. They're running families out of the city, out of the neighborhoods that they, lived in for so long, because people come in and, buy all the houses and prices go up and all that stuff. But yes, I like that they kind of like put that in there, that the police really didn't do like a whole lot. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. that tracks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And this is all the while, I think this is before the Rodney King thing in LA.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know when that happened, but I'm almost sure this is before it.
Right.
But, that's kind of where the LAPD's incompetence was, like, broadcasted to the whole country, basically.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so.
Good point.
Yeah, just like you said. To me, this film is kind of like a, what would you call it? Like a parody.
Right.
Of, like, capitalism and gentrification and all that stuff. So,
Agreed.
So that's a good catch. Fool is discovered by Mr. Robeson and is thrown to the cannibalistic children to die. So basically, he's throwing them for them to eat him.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, Roach, the little boy without the tongue, he helps Fool escape, but he's also shot in the process and is critically wounded. He helps Fool hide and tells him how to escape by pointing, as he can't speak.
Right.
And he also gives him a small bag of gold coins. So that's to help him.
Yes.
Because I think he knows that that's the reason why he even got in there.
Right. That's the whole point.
The whole point. And So he gives him a small bag of coins, and he also kind of writes a plea to save Alice. And unfortunately, he dies, and that was really sad.
It is sad.
He was like a real one.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though he wasn't on like for too long, I really liked this character.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good character.
He was a good character. Fool reunites with Alice, and the two escape into this passageway between the walls. And Mr. Robinson releases his Rottweiler dog, Prince, into the walls to kill him. Fool, however, tricks Mr. Robinson into stabbing Prince, and he and Alice are able to reach the attic, where they find an open window above a pond. Alice is too afraid to jump, and Fool is forced to escape without her. But he promises to return for her.
Yeah.
So, keeps his promises. So, good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Fool learns that he has enough gold to pay for his mother's surgery and about 10 years worth of rent.
Crazy. Yeah, got exactly what he needed, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. He also finds out that the Robisons, by his grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tells him that they're actually brother and sister.
Ooh.
Which, I thought this was LA, not Alabama.
I know, that was like a little twist in there. Like, all right, let's add something else to this.
Yeah, that was like I said, I've seen this maybe once or twice, but the last time I saw it was probably 15 plus years ago.
Wow.
So I don't remember all of it. So that one I was like, oh crap, I forgot about that.
Oh, I forgot about that detail.
Yeah. And they come from this long line of disturbed inbred family members who built their fortune by running a funeral home, selling cheap coffins for expensive prices, and they later entered the real estate business, leading them to become greedier and more unhinged.
Yeah, I was going to say just greedy.
Yeah.
Overall greedy, capitalistic pigs.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So, kind of like you said, that's kind of like just the theme of this movie more than anything. It's like kind of like a satire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Parody of that. So,
yes, definitely.
And Fool vows to help right the wrongs, and he reports the Robisons to child welfare. And as the police investigate the house, Fool sneaks back in and reveals to Alice that she is not their daughter, and that she was actually stolen from her birth parents, as were the other children in the basement. Mrs. Robinson finds out that Alice knows the truth and believes that Fool has turned her against them, so she attempts to kill Alice. However, with the help of Ruby, who's Fool's sister, and their grandfather, they're able to get this mass group of evictees to witness her actions and exposing their crimes.
Right.
And I thought it was just funny because she opens the door and she's like, go away. And the sister's like, okay, you're this and that.
Yeah.
You're a horrible person. And then it's like she wants to call them the N-word. Right? And then all of a sudden this huge group of people just show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the background, I think Fool or Alice, she just falls out of the sky, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was funny.
That is funny.
Super random. But Fool frees the cannibal children from the basement, and they kill Mrs. Robinson.
Tough.
Should have got your money up, not your funny up.
Right, exactly. Exactly that.
Mr. Robinson finds that Fool is at the vault where Fool sets off explosive. And I was just like, why do they have explosives in their home?
Yeah, I was going to say, that is kind of like, we just have explosives on hand for whatever comes our way.
Yeah, this could blow up our house anytime, but yeah, we got it in the basement. Really?
Yeah,
really. So in the process, it demolishes the house and it causes money to blow up through the chimney into the crowd of people outside. Right. As we talked about, the huge crowd that formed. Mr. Robinson is killed in the explosion, and Alice and Fool reunite in the basement. Oh. Meanwhile, the people outside, they claim their money.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, as they should.
As they should. Distributed from the blast, and the freed pale children, so the cannibals, venture into the night.
Yeah.
And basically, the end.
Yeah.
So, this is just a very broad thing. There's a lot more little details, but this is the main guts of the story.
Yeah, the overview.
The overview, exactly. So, as we do with all horror films in our podcast, and how we will be doing for the rest of the month, the kill count for this film totaled 6.
All right.
So, a new record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the 6 are Mr. Robinson, he died by explosion. Mrs. Robinson, who was eaten by cannibal children. Leroy, he was shot to death. Spencer, who was killed off screen. We don't know. Roach, he was shot and died later.
Right.
And Prince, the Rottweiler.
Yep.
So 6. So yeah, a new record.
Yeah, I know, which is surprising for like a movie like this. Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, I don't know. I would say like if you look at horror films, so like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the originals.
Right.
You'll see that they actually don't have that many deaths.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're very few deaths.
Right.
We kind of get this feeling because I think the reboots and like these newer versions,
right,
in the 2000s, 90s, whatever, they started making them over exaggerated.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, actually, they're pretty tame. So.
Yeah.
And this one was pretty tamed. Nothing too crazy,
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like disturbing or anything.
No,
like it's stomachable, I guess.
Yeah,
digestible.
It's not It's not a family film, but right. It's not horrible.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So, as I said earlier in the episode, this was a film recommendation by one of our followers. So thank you.
Yeah, shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out. I enjoy this film. Like I said before, this is like my second or third time watching it. I really like the subtle comedy.
Yeah.
It's not a full-on comedy.
Yes.
It still retains a lot of the horror element, especially throughout the film, but it's also very almost like a parody.
Yeah.
Where the landlords are these exaggerated evil people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's just a very funny depiction of gentrification.
Yes.
Class warfare and capitalism. So I thought that was a very interesting concept. And when I first watched this, the very first time I was like a kid.
Yeah.
Then the second time I was a teenager, but I kind of missed these themes.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. I saw it, in this viewing. So yeah, it was a good watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. It was definitely, I guess, a little different than I thought. Yeah. I kind of thought, when you hear horror comedy, I felt like it was going to be more comedy than horror.
Right.
And I've never seen this movie, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but this was my first time watching it. But no, I agree with what you said, that it kept a lot of the horror aspects, and the comedy was subtle, and it was kind of like, not necessarily jokes, but like kind of the things that they would do.
Yes.
It was funny in that way, which I personally like a lot more than like jokey type of movies.
Right.
So overall, I did like this movie. I thought it was pretty good.
Good. Yeah, exactly. I think kind of like you said, it's very like their faces.
Right.
The things they say.
Yes.
It's not really like you said, like joke after joke.
Right, like punchlines.
Punchlines.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a very good point right there. So we're going to go into our rating system. If you don't know, 1 star is equal to 1 tub of popcorn on a scale of 10. I'll let you go first. What do you think?
All right. I give this one 7 tubs of popcorn.
7 tubs. Good.
Yes. Okay. I give it 7 tubs. I do like the background and the theme and all of that. Like you said about like, really it is a parody of like gentrification and class and even like race and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I do enjoy that. I think, it's nice that movies kind of, they're an artistic way of like poking fun at the things that are happening in the world.
Right.
Which I like.
Yeah.
As far as like maybe like downsides, I feel like this movie, I wouldn't say it was long, but I think it was longer than it could have been.
Right.
I felt like it could have been a lot shorter. And by a lot shorter, I mean like
20 minutes.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Like 15, 20 minutes. I think it went on a little too long, which
that's a good point.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that, especially for like a horror comedy. I feel like they usually are a little on the shorter end.
Yeah.
And this movie was pretty on par to all the other movies we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a downside for me. And like even the characters, I wish they would have went a little more in depth with like, Roach and people like that. Like, what's the backstory? I mean, obviously we know like he doesn't have a tongue and things like that, but I would like to have seen like maybe a little more.
Right.
Just to touch on, and I would like to see him more. I liked him as a character.
Yeah, me too.
So I wish he would have. I know his screen time wasn't like super, super, super prominent. But I would have liked to see like a little bit more with him.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's my rating. What about you?
No, those are good points. Yeah. Now that you kind of mentioned that, yeah, that's a very good point that, I wouldn't say this movie's long by any means. It's actually like kind of a normal film.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
But yeah, I agree. I think it went on a little bit too long.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and I guess, I don't know. I think for most people, I guess they would want movies to be longer than maybe shorter than they should have been.
Right.
For the most part. But this was one where I was like, we could have reeled it in a little bit.
Just kind of going off of that before I talk about my rating.
Yeah.
I think a perfect example of this that I saw recently is this 70s movie, and I don't know if you would like it. I don't know if it's your cut, your cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. It's called The Deer Hunter.
Okay.
It has Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken, and
right.
It's a very good movie, and basically it's 3 hours long, so it's long.
Yeah.
There's no denying that it's long. And it's kind of like almost like 3 films.
Okay, gotcha.
So the first film is kind of like these guys, they're like steel factory workers.
Right.
In Pennsylvania. And they come from like this Eastern European, I forgot what they're like. I don't know, they're Serbians or something.
Right.
Some Eastern European country. But basically, they're going to go to Vietnam.
Right.
And, there's a wedding and all this stuff. So the first hour is basically their friendship before the war.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't like that first hour. They think that drags on a lot.
Okay.
Me personally, I thought it was good.
Okay.
Now, the second part is the best part when they're in Vietnam.
Right.
And that's the most tense and whatever.
The meat of the story.
Yeah. The meat of the story. And it's really good. And the part that I thought dragged on too much was the ending, the last hour.
Okay.
Because now it's their life after coming back from Vietnam and how the war affected their friendship.
Okay.
So basically, it's not really a war movie. The Vietnam War is kind of like the background of it.
Right.
But it's not like a war movie.
Yes.
But yeah, the last hour kind of just dragged on a little bit too much.
Gotcha.
And kind of like, I think if they could have cut it like 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
It would have been
My rating would go up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and then, I was just thinking, Meryl Streep is in that movie.
Oh.
Young Meryl Streep.
Ooh, all right. Yeah. Good. I gotta watch that then.
Yeah.
It might be up my alley.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a chance.
It's a good movie. Like I said, it's 3 hours, so it's a kind of an investment to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a drama. I like drama, so.
Ooh, okay. I get with that.
And the Vietnam part's really good.
Yeah.
Very tense.
Ooh.
Yeah,
just what I like. No.
But yeah, so anyways, that's kind of, I was just going off that with, something that could have been a little shorter, right?
Absolutely.
So my rating is kind of like yours. I'm going to give it a 6.5 tubs of popcorn.
All right.
So I like the film.
Yes.
My rating maybe doesn't reflect it like that, but I did like it. It was really nostalgic to rewatch after not watching it for so long. And I think it blends horror and comedy, which are, to be granted, they're opposites.
Oh, yeah. Different ends of the spectrum.
Right. And it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like dramas and romances are not that far apart.
Right.
So they work well together.
Right.
But horror and comedy are way different.
Yes.
And they're both kind of the hardest genres to me because it's hard to scare people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make people laugh.
Right.
Right? So it's extremely difficult, but I think it does a decent job.
Yeah.
My big criticism of it is kind of like yours. I think there's other films that do it a little bit better.
Okay.
This one was very subtle. The comedy. It's more on the horror spectrum, so that's okay. I liked it, but I think when you mesh those two genres, there's other ones that are better that I like personally a little more. And then I had the same thing that I wanted to see more of the characters. I wanted to see more of Roach. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see a little bit more of Alice, like how they kidnapped her.
Yeah.
We could have even gone a little bit more into the landlords.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why. And I really like that point. I didn't have it on here originally, but I agree too that it went on a little bit too long.
Yeah.
I think if they could have cut 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I think it would have been higher.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, overall, it's a really fun movie. I kind of put it as like a I like Big Daddy, right?
Yeah.
Or The Water Boy.
Yeah.
Now, I think this one's a little bit better than those. But those are just fun movies.
Yeah.
And this is a fun movie.
Yeah.
One that I can see myself watching, not every year, but every couple of years,
Yeah, I agree.
It's a fun movie. So
yeah.
But yeah. So as we do in every podcast, we're gonna do a movie recommendation.
Woo-hoo.
And I'll go first on this one.
All
So my movie recommendation for the week, if you guys haven't seen it, is An American Werewolf in London. And I've been talking to you personally about this for so long, but I love this movie. And I actually did not think I was going to like it.
Right.
I thought it was going to be a cheesy 80s movie,
Yes.
Whatever. Now, the reason I wanted to watch this is because the guy that directed this, John Landis, he also directed Michael Jackson's Thriller.
What? All right. And that is the best music video to ever exist.
Exactly.
That's iconic.
There's Thriller and then everybody else is number 2, right?
Exactly. Period.
So Michael Jackson, he loved this movie so much that he wanted the director.
Okay.
And he's wearing the red, the red jacket, and that's basically the guy in the movie. He's wearing a red jacket, not like his, but
yes.
Obviously similar.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's why I wanted to watch this movie.
All right.
And I think it does comedy and horror a lot better than this one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. At times it was like a horror movie, and then at other times it was like fun and funny and stuff.
Yes.
And it does like a good job interweaving them. And the practical effects on this are just next level. I mean, when he transforms into the werewolf, it's kind of like in the music video for Michael Jackson, but he turns into a zombie, I guess.
Right.
But in this one, he turns into a werewolf. And yeah, it's just really next level. There's no CGI. It's just all practical effects.
All right.
I think it has a good story, and then I really like the set piece of being in London.
Yeah.
As the background, I thought that was really good. So that's a really good film. So.
All right. Well, yeah. God, I gotta get on that. I gotta watch it.
It's on Amazon Prime.
All right. I have Amazon. Yeah. I have Amazon.
I also have it. So, what's your movie recommendation?
All right, guys, buckle in. No, just kidding. My movie recommendation would be Jennifer's Body, if you've never seen it. It is, I believe, like a 2009 movie. It stars the beautiful Megan Fox.
And you love that movie.
I love that movie. I remember watching that as a child at the flea market. The bootleg version.
Bootleg version?
Yeah, the bootleg version. On the weekends when I was, working allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Right. I really like Jennifer's Body because it's kind of similar to this movie where it's kind of like a horror comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like your comment to your movie recommendation. Like, I think Jennifer's Body does a really good job of doing horror when it needs to be scary and then doing comedy when it's funny.
Okay.
So basically the bare bones of Jennifer's Body is that there's this girl, Jennifer, and she is sacrificed. She goes and watch a band. She's like this beautiful prom queen, like high school girl.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, watches a band. She thinks she's about to hook up with one of the, people in the band, I suppose.
Okay.
The musicians, if you will. And they end up sacrificing her. But the sacrifice they were doing was supposed to be with a virgin. And she wasn't a virgin, so it went wrong, and she turns into a vampire, and she's like a boy-eating vampire, and it's freaking amazing, and I love Jennifer's Body. But it's just so funny. Like, I don't know, the comedy aspects are like, it's very catered to the girls.
Yeah.
It's girl humor. Like, there's, a scene where she is, she's in the process, I suppose, of like turning into the vampire, so she's feeling under the weather. She has like bags in her eyes, and it just makes me laugh because she's like walking down the hallway and she's like, oh, my hair is dull and lifeless and my skin's breaking out. God, I feel like one of the normal girls. And it's just things like that where it's like, I feel like if you like kind of like the teen girl movies, which some people do, even if you're not a teen girl, you'll still like it.
Hey, I like Mean Girls.
Exactly. It's very much like Mean Girls, but also like scary and Amanda Seyfried's in it as well. She's like her sidekick.
Okay. So is she a vampire too?
No, she's the good girl.
Okay.
She's the nerdy best friend sidekick, of course. God. Anyways, going on, but that movie's really good, and I feel like if you like this movie or if you like what we've said about this movie, then you would like Jennifer's Body.
I need to watch that. You've been saying that for years to me, and I haven't watched it, and I need to watch it.
I can't fathom that you've never watched it. I love a Jennifer's Body. That is one of my absolute favorite films of all time.
It's funny because, I think you said it came out 2009?
Yes.
Right? So, the first time I ever saw Megan Fox was 2007 with the Transformers movie.
Great movie. I love Transformers.
The first one's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First one is really good.
And everybody in junior high, I think I was in like 6th, 7th grade, something like that. Everybody had a crush on her.
Of course.
Everybody.
Right.
Right? And, it's kind of, I guess it was weird that I never watched it because I used to have a crush on her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's funny. But, you know what? I'm going to make time this weekend and watch it.
You should watch it.
And I'll report back to you.
All right. All right. We're in.
All right. So, yeah. Also, I just wanted to give a quick reminder. As stated in our previous podcast, for the entire month of October, so 5 weeks, 5 podcasts, every Thursday, available on our YouTube channel at The Movie Hour Podcast. We'll be reviewing our favorite horror films. We finished doing a comedy horror. So next we have a supernatural, a psychological, a demonic, and a slasher type horror film.
Woohoo.
Also, my co-host will be narrating the next podcast.
All right. Woo, woo, woo. That's what I say.
So it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be kind of strange being on the other side, I guess.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Now playing the, what would you say? Like the co-host, right?
Yeah, co-host, backseat, kind of letting me drive the car.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it.
I'm really excited because next week's going to be really, really good.
Yes.
The movie's amazing. My favorite movie of all time. If you don't know, you'll know eventually. But I'm super excited. I'm really excited to take on this challenge, and hopefully I do, the podcast justice.
Oh yeah, you'll do great. I can already see it. So.
All right.
Yeah, and kind of like you said, we have a classic horror film on the next podcast. It's a good one, very good. If her clue didn't give it away, you'll know next week. But tune in next Thursday to hear it. Okay. So if you don't have anything else to add,
I don't
either. So we can wrap up this episode of the Movie Hour. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you on the next one.
See you next week.
See you next week.